everyone. In today's video in the greenhouse we are going to repot this Phalaenopsis that I found tucked in the back corner. I have gone ahead and prepared a few things ahead of time, but first I'll just show you the plant. So it has got quite a few leaves on it. It's got a new leaf growing up from here. I also noticed it has a stem coming up there with some blooms going to be on, a spike. And then on the other side there's actually a second spike as well. Normally I would say don't repot if they're in spike, but I think, to be honest, I've missed repotting this one for a few times in a row, and so this time, spike or not, it's going to get repotted. So this is called a Phalaenopsis orchid, and Phalaenopsis like to be in an airy mixed, mainly sphagnum moss. I have also brought out a little bit of bark and a little bit of lava rock. Now, if you don't have lava rock, you could use pumice stone or some perlite, just anything to keep it a little bit more airy. And this is just a mix that works for me. It may not work for everybody. So what we'll do though is we're going to mix this all up ahead of time. And so I just chopped the sphagnum moss up a bit as well. Looks like that. And I'm not going to think that we're going to need any bigger pot really, so we're just going to put it into a clear pot, very similar to the one it came out of. I like clear pots because you're able to see the roots. I like orchid pots because they have extra vents made, like built right into them. Being orchids like air to the roots, the extra slits in these pots here just help make sure that there's not as many dead zones. Helps it drain faster and dry faster as well. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we're dealing with here. So what I'm going to do is turn off the camera for just a sec because I only have one hand, and I will turn you back on as soon as I get this out of the pot. Alright, I just took the orchid out of the pot. It slid out nicely. I had watered it yesterday, so it's going to be still quite damp. Just put the old pot over there. So let's have a look at the root and see what we got. So what we're checking for here is we just want to make sure that there's no rotten roots. If there is any rotten roots, we want to cut them off. Give it a good little shake here. So you want to be careful and gently just sort of work the moss and the bark back out of the plant. Give it a little bit of a shake. Okay, so I've taken the orchid out of the mix, and now we're just going to look through the roots, and I can see a few dead roots on there. Most of them are alive. They're green, they're firm, they're not squishy. So what we're looking for is if they're, instead of green or white, if they were black on the ends. Like here's a dead root here. It's just emaciated and dried up and black. So what we're going to do is sterilize a pair of scissors. I just use a 70% rubbing alcohol. You always want to sterilize your equipment before you use it, just so you don't transfer any diseases from one plant to the next. Alright, like magic, we're back. I sterilized the scissors. They are still a little wet with alcohol. It's been about a minute now. Just going to let them dry there for one more sec. So what we're going to do with this is get rid of the old mix. You never want to keep old mix. You always want to throw it in the garbage. I don't want it to get mixed up with and somehow get put back in with a mix that I haven't used yet. So let's look through here. And so I'm going to look for any roots that look like this here and just cut them off right where they start. This was the one we seen earlier, I think. But see how there's a dead spot on that one, it's black. So I'm going to cut it just above the dead spot. Now, a perfect example here, when a root does die and is black like this, it can't get nutrients up from itself anymore, from the root, so it will grow from just above it. So the root, it died, but it's actually got a new tip on it already, so we're going to leave that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the rest of the plant and just find any of these little black roots that are no good anymore and trim those off. Alright, there is the plant all trimmed up. It's got no more dead roots on it, but when I was trimming the roots off, I noticed way under, one of its little tiny first leaves is starting to turn yellow, and it's probably going to start decomposing shortly, if not now, right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scissors, and I'm just going to cut that leaf off as well. Just give it a little snip. There we go. And remove that from the bottom. So we can already see this is where the new roots are going to grow from. And if we turn it over, I did notice there was one growing already above that leaf. And on this side, there's already new roots growing for this year. So this here is a new root. You can see a little new root coming up there. That is an old bloom spike, and that is the new bloom spike. Alright, so now we are going to make sure the plant fits into our pot. And it looks like it's going to be a good fit. There'll be lots of roots we'll want to tuck in. Don't worry too much if one of the roots does kink or snap when you're doing this. It's no big deal. The root will keep growing. So that will work. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is give this a final little mixture here. And throw some in the bottom of the pot. There's a little bit barkier down on the bottom of the pot, and as I work my way up the pot, it's going to get a little bit mossier. What I've done is it's in the pot, and I needed 2 hands to do this, but I took sort of a big wad of the bark and the moss and everything, and balled it up to make sure it's underneath the roots right now, right in here. So the roots are already kind of spreading out to go around the edges of the pot. And what you want to do, once it's in the pot like this, is just even turn it, and that's going to just ensure that the roots spin against the edge and go down where they're supposed to be, and all spread out. Alright, sorry I have to keep putting the camera down, but I can't do this one-handed. So what I've done is I've packed our mixture of media just around the roots there, and I'm just shoving in the last little bits and pieces to make sure it's tight in there. Once it's tight, you just want to give it a good little bang. Make sure everything is nice and secure. And that's pretty much it for this guy. So now I want to make sure I give him a good watering. It's going to be a nice airy mix now, so we will go over here. Walk with me. This is my water, which is actually a 10-gallon fish tank. It has already been pre-mixed with fertilizer and has an aquarium heater in there, so it's not cold water. It's heated to about 75 degrees. We'll just do this and pour it in. And do this on the other side and pour it in. And do another one here. And you want to give it a good soaking, especially the first time. Let the water run straight through. So you can see the water can drip out there very easily. If you do happen to get water in the crown like that, we want to take the water out. You can just use a piece of paper towel or have a cloth around here. I'm going to spin you around again. Grab my cloth. Spin you back, and I'm just going to dry this piece out. Normally forgetting to take the water out of there once or twice isn't going to hurt anything, but if you normally were to water your plants from above, and it always had water in the crown up here could start to rot. And when that starts to rot, it can no longer produce leaves, and the plant's going to die. So there we go, that is how we repot, prepare the new potting mix, trim the roots, trim the leaves, and repot a Phalaenopsis orchid. Before we go, I just wanted to give you an example of some other Phalaenopsis and how their roots grow. Not all the Phalaenopsis roots grow into the pot, as you can see from these guys here. A lot of them are aerial roots. And a good way to water the aerial roots is just by giving them a quick spray with some water here. And if you watch, they will actually turn green when they are not thirsty anymore. Now if we compare to this one here, see how the root is still a gray sort of steel color? And as it soaks up the moisture, it turns green. So we still avoid spraying the crown of the plant because we don't want to get any water in there. But giving them a good spray like this really helps them have a drink of water as well. And again, you can see now how the roots have turned green, which means they're drinking the water and no longer thirsty. Here's another one up here. I'm just going to move the camera up. It's got a good root system on it. The roots are everywhere but in the pot. And it's also got a bloom on it up there. So that is Orchid Repotting 101. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and I will see you next time.